Chapter 1. The Last Normal Day. Part 2. The afternoon drifted by with the lazy rhythm of a summer weekend. No one checked the time. There was no reason to. The smell of the barbecue lingered in the warm air while music played softly in the background, interrupted every so often by bursts of laughter. Empty bottles slowly gathered across the garden table beside paper plates covered in crumbs and sauce stains. It wasn't messy in an unpleasant way. It was the comfortable untidiness of a family enjoying each other's company. Tommy finally stepped away from the barbecue after making sure everyone had something to eat. "You happy now?" he asked Frank, placing a plate in front of him. Frank looked down at the burger before inspecting it like a food critic. Tommy folded his arms. "What?" Frank carefully took a bite. Everyone watched him. He chewed dramatically, making Tommy wait. Finally he nodded. "I'll admit it." Tommy raised an eyebrow. "It's edible." The garden erupted with laughter. "Oh, cheers," Tommy replied sarcastically. "High praise." Frank grinned. "Don't let it go to your head." Tommy shook his head, smiling despite himself, before grabbing a drink and sitting down for what felt like the first time all afternoon. For a few minutes, nobody spoke about anything important. The conversation bounced from football to holidays, old stories, embarrassing memories, and plans that suddenly felt much closer than they really were. Reese laughed as Logan reminded everyone about the time Tommy had fallen into a lake while trying to prove he could jump across it. "You said it was easy," Logan laughed. "It looked easy. You disappeared for about 30 seconds. I was swimming. You were panicking." "I wasn't panicking." "You screamed." "I definitely didn't scream." Frank nearly spat out his drink laughing. Even Tommy had to laugh. "All right, maybe a little." The conversation carried on, flowing effortlessly from one topic to another. Nearby, Rosalia was busy collecting daisies from the edge of the lawn. Every flower she picked seemed just as important as the last, carefully adding each one to a little bunch she held proudly in both hands. She eventually wandered over to Frank. "For you." Frank looked down at the flowers and smiled, a genuine smile that softened the lines on his weathered face. "Thank you, sweetheart." He accepted them as though she'd handed him something priceless. "They're beautiful." Rosalia beamed before running back across the garden to play again. Tommy watched the moment quietly. It reminded him of how simple life could be. No money worries. No work. No pressure. Just family. He wished days like this happened more often. Tara noticed him smiling. "Nothing." "You're thinking again." Tommy chuckled. "Apparently I do that a lot." "You do?" She nudged his shoulder gently. "But it's one of the things I like about you." Tommy smiled without replying. Sometimes silence said enough. A warm breeze drifted through the garden again, carrying with it the scent of freshly cut hedges from somewhere nearby. Birds sang from the trees beyond the fence. A lawnmower hummed faintly somewhere down the road. Children laughed in neighboring gardens. The world felt ordinary, comfortably ordinary. If someone had walked through the gate at that moment and told them civilization was only hours away from collapsing, none of them would have believed it. Not because they were naive, because life simply didn't give warnings like that. Or at least, they didn't think it did. Tommy leaned back in his chair, closing his eyes for a moment as the warmth of the sun settled across his face. He could hear everyone talking around him. Frank laughing, Ronnie teasing Logan, Gemma chatting quietly with Tara, the children running across the grass. It was the kind of sound people never realized they would one day miss. The kind of sound that disappears before anyone understands how precious it really was. Somewhere far away, a helicopter crossed the sky. Then another. Too distant to hear clearly, too far away for anyone to pay attention. The day continued, completely unaware that history had already begun to change.